So let's give this a try. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's interactive workshop. So we're going to go through some steps on how to look for, get ready, and apply for a student job on campus. So at any time, please stop me if you have any questions or are having difficulties during the presentation. So first things first, how many of you already have a resume or a CV? So Madison has one. Nico, you have one. Brady, do you have a resume already, hon?
No, I don't have one.
So if you answered yes, you're ready to go on to the next step. However, I do recommend that you use this time to check and see if there's any updates in your resume that need to be made, and or if you have any questions in regards to the resume itself. However, if you answered no, then the first step would be to create a resume before moving on to the next part. So take a moment to explore the free tools that are available to all students by scanning the QR code. If you haven't worked or used the QR code before, if you have your cell phone handy, you'll be able to just point your camera, open up your camera, point at the QR code, and it'll automatically launch the site. If for some reasons you're having difficulties, I will be sharing the links with everyone, and I'll be posting it on Canvas as well. You can also use a resume template that is available through Microsoft Word. So if you were to go on to Word and you look for templates and you just type in resume, you're gonna go ahead and just click any of them, and it's a very common format. It'll have the information. So let's so this is a sample of the resume. It usually always has your information on top. You don't have to get too fancy or it could be just simple, There are some, depending on the major, depending on the job that you're applying, sometimes, you start to turn it more into bold letters, paragraphs. So it just really depends. But you always want to ensure, however you create your resume, that your contact information is up to date and that the resume you are submitting is geared towards the job description you are applying to. It's always important to take a look at your resume before submitting and make the adequate changes to highlight your experience and skills that is related to the job you are applying to. So if you haven't worked, that's not a problem at all. I'm sure that you have done volunteer work, you've probably completed group projects, and believe it or not, you pick up skills in those settings. So there's plenty of skills that you can incorporate, and you can even incorporate being an international student, just transitioning, being abroad. It gives you a lot of skills that other students don't have, or just even people in general. So the next step would be to create a student account. Yes, Nicola?
Sorry, I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
How does this has the resume of a CV to look like, because I already have a resume, but it looks different.
It looks different? Okay. So there are a lot of different formats. The most common one here in the States will always kind of be similar to this one here, where it has like your name on top, your contact information, which is the most important. You don't always have to have an objective. Usually when you're getting started, you'll have an objective. But the most important part of the resume is to include your education and your job experience. So you can go ahead, and how you format it is really up to you. Some want to just have like your skills on top, and then kind of work experience and then your education. Others want to put their education first and then the skills, and then provide even like awards that you've received or certificates that you have. So it's ultimately up to you. There's really no right or wrong, as long as you have the information that is required to pretty much compare your skills to the job that you're applying to.
That's why actually was my question, and it contains everything, the same information, but it's just a really different writing style.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. Yeah, so as long as it has, those are the main parts of it. Your personal contact information, and do always check your email account, just to make sure, that if it has a period or the @ symbol, or just verifying that everything is in order.
I think it's even in the same order, like I can see it right now here, but it's set like on the left side.
Oh yeah,
Like
that's perfect. Yeah, mine looks different. That's just one sample of a resume. But like you said, sometimes the information is kind of like on the left and maybe dates on the right, or vice versa, and that's perfectly fine. As long as it has the information that is needed, you'll be okay. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next part, which is creating an account. So if you haven't already created an account through Job Hub, this is the time to do it. You can go ahead and click on the QR code, or scan the QR code itself, or go ahead and type the URL into your browser. You should see exactly what is on the PowerPoint right now. If you have an account, you're going to go ahead and just click returning user and enter your information to log in. If you don't have one, however, you're going to go ahead and click new student, and that's going to allow for you to create an account. Some information may already be pre-filled for you, but remember to only use your COD email. Please let me know if you get stuck or if you need some help before we move on. Has everyone been able to access? Okay, Nikolai, you're good. Madison?
I haven't tried accessing it yet, but I will.
All right. So if you want to actually access it right now, by all means, go for it. That's what this session is for, just to make sure you're not encountering any problems or any issues. That way you're all set. But if you feel comfortable, just give me a thumbs up and we'll continue along the presentation. Okay, perfect. So when you first log in, I recommend that you click on My Profile under Briefcase, right where that arrow is at. By doing so, it's gonna allow you to add a photo, add a little bit about you, and also provide a copy of your resume. So why is it important? It's important because it'll cut off a little bit of time for you to have to do it every time you're looking for a job on campus or trying to apply to a new position or student position that opened up. And then at the same time, the more active you are, the more they see and learn a little bit more about you. So if you add a photo, they'll kind of know who it is. You don't have to add any of this. I do recommend it because it'll allow you to just have your profile pretty much ready to go. You can also add your education in any previous jobs that you've had. But like I said, this one is an option. It's always good. Okay, and so let me go ahead and show you when I log in. And now we're going to go through the part of actually logging in. So mine is saved on there just because I use it most of the time. So when you log in, can you guys still see my my screen? Yeah, okay. So when you log in, this is what I was talking about. You can add a profile photo, add a little bit about you, your title. This one might look a little bit different just because I'm not a student, and yours might have more geared towards students. Right here, you're gonna go ahead and look for a job. So when you go here, oh my God. You're gonna click on My Jobs. And then from there, you're gonna make sure that when you're searching for a job, that it is a student-focused job on campus. So you don't have to check industry, but for job type, please make sure that you select on campus. From there, you're gonna go ahead and do search. And then here you're gonna see all of the jobs that are available for you to work on campus. This one here, I don't know why it's as an on-campus job. This one is for bartender. Actually, this one is for our other campus. So you would be able to apply because it is still part of our institution. So anything that is under College of the Desert, whether it's for the bookstore, even though they're kind of a separate entity, it's still part of College of the Desert. So you can work at the bookstore. You can also work at the cafeteria. So if they have openings, because it is on campus, you can still work. The tutoring center, the library. Most of the time, the tutoring center and the library are going to be your biggest ones because they're always busy. They always need tutors, or they always need assistance with helping other students. The other big department would be counseling. As the campus continues to open up a little bit more, you're going to start to see more jobs that open up and that are available. So let's say that we're gonna go ahead and sign up for this one. So you can always just immediately apply. And here you're gonna go ahead and upload your resume. And if you have a cover letter, you're gonna go ahead and add a cover letter as well. It already has your information pre-filled. That's why it's important that you use your COD email when creating your account. Right here, it's going to give you a description of the job that you would be doing, and it'll also give you a description of the requirements. There are some jobs, if you see here, this one says FWS funding, which is Federal Work Study Funding. Unfortunately, as international students, you don't qualify for federal work study funding. However, I do recommend that you get in touch. This one is from, this one, the contact information would be Mark. I do recommend that you give him a call or you send them an email. Email is always the best way. And then you can always include on as the subject, the name of the position. And in your email, just say, hello, my name is Madison. I'm really interested on the job posting I saw. However, I am an international student. And I was wondering if you had availability to hire or funding to hire an international student. And if they say yes, then you go ahead and apply right away for that position. For instance, you always want to make sure you read, because it's asking you to actually submit your resume directly to Mark instead of applying through the site itself. Sometimes they don't log into the sites as often, so they usually just prefer a straight email. So always keep note of that. if there's a little section here, always keep note of what is going on. Do they want you to apply directly, or do they want you to apply through the site? Any questions? So this one is it's very easy, comprehensive. It's a lot of just remembering to not look for a job off campus. That's the most important part. The moment you start looking for a job off campus, then it's gonna kind of be more of OPT or CPT. And that's something that Cody's gonna have a brief presentation about next week. So if you are interested in applying for OPT or CPT, or just trying to get a little bit more of information in regards to it, I do recommend that you keep an eye out and definitely join for Cody's session for that one. And then I do see there was a question in the chat. What is a cover letter? So a cover letter is gonna be pretty much like your resume, but in writing. It's gonna just introduce yourself, say, why do you wanna apply for this job position? What experience do you have, just in a nutshell? Like, pretty much just explaining, like, I am efficient with Microsoft Word, I've done projects, I've done this. So you just say a little bit about yourself, give a little brief description. Right now, for all of these actual job postings that are for student assistants or student workers, you actually only need your resume. For instance, when we clicked here, it just said email your resume to Mark. So everything you have, or the only thing you have to do and worry about, is your resume. Once you start applying to jobs through OPT or CPT, they will actually ask you for, most of the time, for references and for a cover letter. References are going to be those people that you've worked with, that you've done group work with if you haven't worked in the past, that will say, yes, I know Nikolai, we've worked together, and if, let's say, international department is hiring Nikolai, we're gonna go ahead and call Madison and say, hi, Madison, we have a candidate that applied for a position. Nikolai, we're just calling to verify certain things. Maybe on his resume he said, oh, I worked on a group project with Madison and we've done this and that. So we're gonna call Madison and ask to just make sure and confirm that that has been the case. Right now, as student assistants, don't worry about it, don't stress about it. The only thing you need is just your resume. And if you haven't created a resume or you don't have one, there's links that you can click on, tools that you can use. They're completely free, and they'll help you step by step to just plug and chug your information. And if you still aren't too sure, you can always let me know, and I'm more than happy to help you. Let me go ahead and click here. So any questions in regards to the looking for a job? Okay, perfect. So what happens if you do get hired? So congratulations, first of all, that's going to be a great news. You'll have an on-campus job and you'll have a little bit more of things to do added to your plate. If you are offered an on-campus job, the process is really smooth. The first step is going to be for you to let us know, in case your manager is really busy or they just aren't really sure of the process. It's important that you know what your next step is. And the next step is to get in touch with me and just say, hey, Marvs, this is Nikolai. This is my student ID number. I was just offered a job in the Tutoring and Academic Skills Center as a tutor. And then I'll say, congratulations. The next step is going to be me reaching out to the manager or the director and just saying, I had a student that was recently hired with you. I just want to confirm or verify that this is the case. And if once they send me an email saying, yes, they did get hired, I'm gonna go ahead and create a letter. That's the letter that you're gonna need in order to go to the Social Security office and apply for a Social Security card. Just so you know, they will probably ask you if you already have a Social Security card. Some international students do because they have had a job on campus already, and maybe they're just applying to a different office. Some international students don't, and it's important if you don't have one, just to let your manager know, I don't have one. I know that the international office is gonna help me to ensure that I can get a Social Security card, that I can apply for a Social Security card. The process does take anywhere from 7 to 10 days before you actually receive your card. Once I give you the letter, there's 2 offices that you can go to. One is in Indio by In-N-Out, and then there's another one in Palm Springs by Palm Springs. So you can pick which one is closest to you. We do generally say to please go ahead and schedule an appointment, just because it is gonna be easier for you to go in and get your Social Security card faster. If you don't schedule an appointment right now because of COVID, they might send you back and say, hey, you need to make an appointment and then come back to us. But other than that, the documents that you would be taking would be the letter that I create for you, your passport, your I-20, and your student, just like any other site that you go to open a bank account, rent a car, get your driver's license, or get your California ID. They will always ask you for your passport and visa, as well as your I-20. So, off-campus employment. So that one is highly restricted for F1 international students. It absolutely requires approval from Cody before beginning, even if it's unpaid work. For instance, if it were to be, Samuel, you're volunteering at the hospital, you still have to just run it by Cody to make sure that what you're doing is actually volunteer work and not work that is directly related to your job or to a job but you're not getting paid for. You have to be really, really careful because of your status. You're not allowed to do OPT during your first 2 semesters. Before graduation, you must be a part of the work experience class or the CPT, which is curricular practical training. If you're facing severe economic hardship, employment authorization, but you have to call Cody, talk to him, and he's gonna guide you through the process. Work authorization after graduation requires approval from the U.S. government, so that would be OPT. So if it's before graduation, it's CPT, and if it's after graduation, then it's OPT. But you have to have these requirements met, and you also have to follow protocol and get in touch with Cody and say, hey, I found a job off campus. Am I able to take the job? Sometimes you have stores that might offer you a job, and they say, oh, no problem, we can still hire you. Absolutely not. Be very careful. You always have to just run it by Cody, double check, make sure that it's something that you can do. If the job is on campus, whether it's in the task center, maybe it's in the football field, maybe it's in the library, in the bookstore, in the diner, cafeteria, then that's perfectly okay, as long as it's a student on campus job. Anything that is off campus, just run it by Cody first of all, whether it's paid or non-paid. Make sure that you run it through Cody. And then, do you guys have any questions, any feedback, comments, or anything that you'd like to share?
I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, thank you, Madison. And
Me as well.
this
It
is
was
time we
a perfect presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikolai. This is the first time we do an actual presentation. Most of the time, it's always kind of just one-on-one. We try to kind of do more of a presentation, give you a clear understanding of the process, how to look for a job. But Of course, we're not going to remember everything. PowerPoint and presentation will be posted on Canvas. But if you have any other questions or you have anything that you encountered, just let us know. And it does seem kind of like we're overreacting, for off-campus jobs. It's just that we're trying to make sure that you are on the right path, making sure that your status is safe and that you're following what F1 regulations are. But whenever in question or you're not too sure, just email Cody. He's really awesome. He's gonna help you through the process. And if maybe it's not meant to be volunteer work that's free, maybe it's meant to be CPT and you actually can get paid for the work that you're doing. And then we have a name that is not in English. Sorry, what's your name? I can't read it. I think it's Japanese. Oh, Chinese. Sorry. Oh, okay. No worries. Thank you for joining us, even though you're in the library. But if you have questions, you can put them in the chat or you can unmute